Hare Krishna, everybody. We from Mayapur Institute and on behalf of all the students, welcome His Grace Radhika Nagar Prabhu. I've already shared Radhika Nagar Prabhu's introduction in the group, but you need to know that some of you are new here, that Prabhu has been serving Mayapur Institute for so many years. Prabhu has been teaching, Prabhu has been coordinating, and Prabhu has been doing so many services with respect to preaching and teaching. And not only that, Prabhu travels all over the world. He also does book distribution and so many services of the vision and to fulfill the vision and mission of Srila Prabhupada. So I request all of you to take the mercy and blessings and utilize yourself with His Grace Radhika Nagar Prabhu. And it's up to you, Radhika Nagar Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Dandava Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I just realized my computer is unplugged, so give me 1 second somehow. Dandava Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. It's my pleasure to be with all of you here today. So I request your blessings that I may do justice to this section of Srimad Bhagavatam. Is a very important part of the Bhagavatam. We're going to be covering a lot of deep philosophy on the Srimad Bhagavatam, so requesting your blessings. Just a little thing about the dynamics of the class. I would like to make it as interactive as possible. So every day, if you can, be active on the chat. If any question arises or any point that strikes you, you can reflect it on the chat. And every day I will be beginning the classes with a recap from the previous session that you will be doing, basically. So I humbly request you to please take notes and be ready every day for the beginning of the class to do a little recap from the previous day. And my humble request also, because we are on Zoom and, you could be doing anything. I have attended Zoom classes, but it's very important that we create that kind of focus. So please be in a distraction-less space, get your water, get your paper, and just absorb yourself on the study of the Bhagavatam for the next couple of hours. So I'll begin with the Mangala Charana. Again, please, you can join me. You're in silent, you're muted, but you can please join on the Mangala Charana prayers. Every day I will be reciting the prayers by Sanatana Goswami or to Srimad Bhagavatam. And so these prayers, they really represent the proper mood to enter into the Bhagavatam. It enables us to create also like a focus of about what we want to achieve. And they're very wonderful. So we are making a big sacrifice. For most of us, it's a joyful sacrifice, but we're making a sacrifice to study the Bhagavatam. And we want the Bhagavatam, who is Krishna himself, to be kind upon us. This is just not an intellectual or academic study of the Bhagavatam, but we want a transformation of the heart. So in order to do that, I invite you every day to join with these prayers. We will not be reciting the translations. I will provide the prayers on the WhatsApp group to Padma Sundari Mataji. But we will recite the Sanskrit every day. And you can join on from the Mangala Charana. Okay, Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Shakshurum Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitanyena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Siyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabhadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakambitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satfala Sarva Siddhanta Radnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. Because it's the first day today, we're reciting the prayers. I'll go through all the translations. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churn from the ocean of all scriptures, you are the most prominent transcendental fruit of the Vedas, enriched with the jewels of all conclusive truths. You grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kali Dvanto Ditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life breath of the Vaishnava devotees, O Lord, you are the sun which has risen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna who has returned among us. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namastume. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. By your recitation, one attains transcendental bliss, because your syllables shower pure love of God upon the reader. You're always to be served by everyone, for you are an incarnation of Lord Krishna. Madeka Bhando Matsangin Madguro Mam Mahadana Mam Nishtaraka Madhvagya Madananda Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, O my companion, O my teacher, O my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Asadu sadhu tadayim atini chochatakara hanamuncha kadachimam premna ritkanta yospura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O uplifter of the most fallen, please don't ever leave me. Accompanied by pure love of Krishna, please manifest yourself in my heart and in my throat. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. So I would like to begin because we're on the second canto, and you had a long break. I believe you have been doing presentations for a couple of weeks. So, well, a couple of weeks, maybe even longer. I don't know exactly how long. So I would like to just do a quick recap about what's happened on the second canto so far, and then we can proceed with this sixth chapter of this second canto. But meanwhile, while I'm doing the recap, could you please type on the chat box something from the second canto that you remember? Okay, how the second canto begins. It begins with Shukadeva Goswami. He is answering the question by Parikshit Maharaj. Shukadeva Goswami enters into the Bhagavatam, appears in the Bhagavatam on the second canto. And basically, Parikshit Maharaj had inquired about what is the duty of a man who is about to die. And, well, what is the duty of every man, and particularly, specifically, what is the duty of a man who is about to die? And the answer, of course, was that one must remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the time of death. And then there is a whole, the first 3 chapters, basically, we have a discussion between Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, wherein the superiority of Bhakti Yoga is being shown. And if you remember, different processes are explained, and they are all basically, can you remember some of those processes? You can unmute yourself, or you can you can tap on the chat box. What are some of those processes which are described in the first 3 chapters of the Bhagavatam? Yeah.
Ashtanga Yoga.
Ashtanga Yoga, yeah. What else? What is the first step? There is the first step in God realization, right? That's the chapter entitled. What is the first step?
That's a Brahman realization.
Brahman realization. Okay. And how is that achieved? Huh?
Universal form.
Yeah, meditation on the universal form, right? There is a description of the universal form, and the yogi, through that, you could say imaginary conception of the Lord as the universe, then he can attain liberation. Okay. Then there is also a description of, in the second chapter, there is a description of meditation on the super soul by the yogi also. Okay. And by which he also can attain liberation. And and there is also a description of demigod worship, of karma kanda. Different processes are being described, but every time the superiority of bhakti yoga is established. And if finally the explanation by Parikshit, by Sukadeva Goswami, culminates with that famous famous verse, akama sarva kamo va moksha karma udaradi tivrina bhakti yogena yayeta purusham param. That whether one has material desires, one is free from material desires, one desires liberation, one must worship the personality of Godhead. So this is the beginning of the first canto. The purpose of the Bhagavatam actually is to establish bhakti as the topmost sadhana. Jiva Goswami explains this is the Bhagavatam has various purposes. One of the purposes of the Bhagavatam is to establish what is the supreme expression of divinity, who is the supreme object of worship, who is the supreme shelter. That's also already established in the first 3 chapters, because the principle that is being established is that one must fix his mind on the Lord. Okay, but according to the different levels of development in the path of Krishna consciousness or spirituality, the yogi or the practitioner, he may have different conceptions. So for the person who is absorbing matter, he has no a conception of something beyond matter. So the first step is, okay, let's meditate on the material, what is perceivable of the material universe as the Lord. But by that conception of meditating on the Lord as the universe, one gradually becomes purified. But then there is a higher level of realization when one meditates on the super soul, who is also pervading everything, who is maintaining everything, who is providing, who is residing in the heart. I also meditate that through that meditation, one can also make progress on the path of, self-realization. But even higher than that is when one actually worships a Bhagavan, and when one worships Krishna. So that's what is being established in these first 3 chapters. Clear? Okay. So then the conversation seems to end there. What happened? Anyone remembers what happened at the end of that chapter? Chapter 3? Anyone? I guess it's been a few weeks, but anyways, let's see. Someone can remember. I'm just opening the chat. Okay, Chandrika said the description of Paramatma. So it seems like Shonaka Rishi is thinking that, well, maybe Sutta Goswami is going to end the discussion now. And here, besides all these beautiful verses, where he said, well, surely when two great devotees like Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami met together, there must have been a lot of discussions between them about Krishna. So what else happened? And there is all these beautiful verses of clarification. And then that leads into chapter 4, where the chapter begins with what is Parikshit Maharaj response to all that is being said by Shukadeva Goswami. Very beautiful verse is there explained, and it's very important. I particularly like to reflect on this verse because there it says that having Parikshit Maharaj, after he had heard the truth from Shukadeva Goswami, his mind became fixed. The word used is Krishna. I forgot now. But anyway, the word is used satim. The word is used satim. Sati means chaste, loyal. Right? So when one hears truth, the result of accepting that truth is that one becomes fixed. His mind becomes fixed on the truth. And that's exactly what Parikshit Maharaj did. He heard from Shukadeva, he had asked a question, he got the answer, he took it to heart, and his mind became fixed on the Lord. And this is what we aspire as following in the footsteps of Parikshit Maharaj. We also want to, make our minds become fixed on the Supreme Lord. So then Parikshit Maharaj asked a series of questions. Do you remember what the questions were about? Anyone remembers?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Go ahead.
May I answer? May I answer?
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
He asked about the process of creation in the sense that how the universe got created.
Yes, exactly. He asked about the creation. Okay. And then Sukadeva Goswami, in order to respond to Maharaj Parikshit's questions, he relates another conversation that took place between Brahma and Narada Muni, wherein Brahma is going to explain to Narada Muni about the creation. And this is what is called in the Bhagavatam. We have various discussions, various conversations, right? The Bhagavatam is arranged in the way of discussions. So we have what is called Brahma Narada Samvad, where we're going to hear again about Sarga and Visarga. This topic of Sarga and Visarga is elaborately discussed in second canto and third canto. Okay. And in describing this discussion, then Narada Muni, he is also going to ask various questions to Brahma. And we're going to see those questions today. And in fact, this chapter 6 that we are entering today is basically chapter 5 and 6. They are particularly focusing on answering those questions by Parikshit Maharaj in regards to the creation, who is the controller, who is the maintainer. Okay? So that's the second section on the second canto of the Bhagavatam. And then the third section, and then it ends up discussing about the scheduled incarnations, which is chapter 7. Now, chapter 8 again begins with more questions by Parikshit Maharaj. And the questions that Parikshit Maharaj actually asks in this chapter, the answer to these questions is the whole Bhagavatam. It's like if you look back, in the first canto also, we hear so many questions. The beginning, the Sonaka Rishi is asking questions to to the sages at the Misharanya, and those questions are answered throughout the Bhagavatam. But now this chapter 8 is full of questions. It's so many questions. I mean, we'll come to it. And at the end of asking all those questions, Parikshit Maharaj said, well, if there is anything else that I haven't asked for, also please answer that. So it's very, very, relishing. It's a very, very enriching discussion that is taking place on the part of the inquisitiveness of the Parikshit Maharaj, and the eagerness to speak on Krishna by the speaker. So that dynamic through the Bhagavatam is going on constantly. But for the Bhagavatam to manifest, there must be both the speaker and the hearer must be qualified. And we're seeing all these different discussions. Okay, so that's basically the 3 sections on this first canto, or second canto, sorry. So I just explained this before. In these 2 chapters, Sukadeva Goswami explains how bhakti is superior to karma, to jnana, to yoga, demigod worship, how demigod worship is useless, and how bhakti yoga is the ultimate duty. That's already been established before. We're getting the same message again and again and again, so that we finally, absorb and understand it, that actually, yes, the topmost duty of every living being is to worship the Supreme Lord without any expectation, right? With love and devotion. And then the reasons why yoga, for example, is inferior to bhakti. Bhakti yoga awards liberation, but bhakti awards prema. Swarga is useless. Why? Because it's perishable. Jnana is just a step towards bhakti. All these processes, they are incomplete. Okay. So basically, I've went through this already. Okay. So here is the three divisions: Sukadeva to Parikshit, Brahma to Narada, and then in the last 3 chapters, after Parikshit Maharaj asked all these questions, we're gonna hear a fascinating discussion that took place right at the beginning of the universe between Krishna and Brahma, and that will include the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. So this is what we're gonna be discussing for the next 4 weekends together. So how many times the Bhagavatam is being presented just in these first 2 cantos? We have Vishnu to Brahma, Krishna to Brahma, in fact. Then Brahma to Narada in these chapters 5 to 7. Narada to Vyas in the first canto. Vyasadeva to Sukadeva Goswami doesn't occur. Then Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. This is what we discussed on the previous unit 6. And Sutta Goswami to the sages and the Misharanya right at the beginning of the first canto. Okay. And then general summary of the whole Bhagavatam. Basically, we have that, this first 2 canto is like an introduction to the Bhagavatam. It's called Padmapad, or the lotus feet of the Lord. Then the Bhagavatam actually explains the history of the universe, the history of what takes place in one day of Lord Brahma in his life. And during the life of Lord Brahma, there are different manus, and what goes on in each of these manus is being described throughout the Bhagavatam, leading to our present Manu, who is Vaivasvata Manu, in which Krishna appears. So the Bhagavatam, it just goes through the history of the universe, and when there is something particularly relevant, it just kind of zooms in, focus on that, tells us the story for our benefit, particular pastimes, incarnations of the Lord, so that we become attracted by the Lord, attracted to the Lord. So cantos 3 to 9, we are hearing about the different manvantaras. And then Krishna's pastimes is 10, 11, and then the final cantos, 12 canto, is, you could say, the epilogue. Okay. Is it clear so far? Feel free to raise your hands if you need to, and ask anything. If we are doing okay for time, I will respond. Otherwise, I'll leave it for the end. Okay, Asaf. Okay, Asaf, you have a. I don't know you. Some of you, I know you from Mayapur. Some of them I don't know you. So I also will appreciate if you can maybe just write on the chat. You can introduce yourself in a couple of sentences. Asaf, is that your name or you have a spiritual name?
No, that is my name. I'm not initiated.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Materially engrossed people, blind to Atmatava, have many subject matters to hear in human society. So that's from the right at the beginning of the second canto, where Sukadeva Goswami, he's explaining that one must fix his mind on the Supreme Lord. And he's saying also, he explaining what one should not hear. And it all goes on to describe, about materially engrossed people who have no Atmatattva. Vinay Damodar from Ghaziabad, Delhi. Hare Krishna. Good, thank you. Yeah, can we just go quickly? It's going to take like 2 or 3 minutes. So I know who is in the class. It's easier for me. Well, Murli Manohar Prabhu, I can recognize you. Hare Krishna. Nice to see you again. Yamastami Prabhu, sure. No need introduction. Mahavira Rupa Prabhu. Okay. Mani Gopal, Mayapur. Aber Mani Gopal. Where is Mani Gopal? Can you put your cameras on for a second? Oh, okay. Mani Gopal Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I knew I know you. Okay. Okay. Tribanga, let's see. Tribanga Syam, Gopal, I'm losing. Let's do it one by one. Shivas Pandit from Balaram Desh. I'm sure I know Shivas Pandit. Let's see the email. I'm just gonna put this on stop sharing, and I'm gonna put the okay, that's it. Okay, I'm going one. Well, Gopal Ganasraya, Prabhu. Okay, Gopal Ganasraya is from, I think I recognize you too, but I'm not sure. UK. Okay, that's probably where I saw you before. Hare Krishna. I was there for many years. Yamastami, Raj Shekhar, Prabhu. Raj Shekhar is from, I don't see. Maybe you can just tell us quickly.
From Delhi, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Nice. Thank you. Welcome, Prabhu. Mahavira Rupa, Prabhu. Maybe you can unmute yourself quickly and just tell us. It'll be easier because with the chat I'm getting.
Okay, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I am Mahavir Rupa Das. I am connected with ISKCON Temple, New Delhi. So I am staying in Delhi.
We have a few people from Delhi today. Eh? Nice. Rasarani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm from Durban, South Africa.
Hare Krishna. Nice. Glories of Zoom. We can get people from all over the world. Chandrika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm from Bulgaria.
Bulgaria. Hare Krishna. Nice. And Karunatara Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I am from Karunatara Devidasi from New Delhi.
Good. Thank you. Amala Manjari Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Amala Manjari Devidasi. I live in UK, but now I'm in South India.
Nice. Welcome. Vinay Damodar. Hare Krishna. Vinay Damodar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. From Ghaziabad, Delhi.
Nice, thank
Brilliance,
you.
yeah.
Madhupati Mataji and
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Mahamani Govinda Das.
Madhumati Priyashaki Devidasi. We are in Melbourne, Australia.
Hare Krishna, nice. Welcome. Shivas Pandit Prabhu from Balarandesh. Can you show your face? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Prabhu.
you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Jai Radhe Mataji from
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I live in Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. Nice.
Abu Dhabi.
Have I seen you before there? Don't remember
No,
you.
No.
No.
I don't.
I used to go to Abu Dhabi every year.
Okay.
Tribanga Shyam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I am from Bangladesh.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Welcome. Okay, it's one more page quickly. Oh, we have lots of more people here. Mani Gopal, okay. Bhakta Anir Puram. Can you put just your cameras for a second?
Low bandwidth, Prabhu. So
Okay.
South Africa. Thanks.
South Africa, no problem. Dauji Prabhu. Okay, Dauji Prabhu is not there. Murari Prabhu, can you?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Murari
Krishna.
from Slovakia.
Slovakia, welcome. And Veera Gopal, I know him very well. Are you there, Prabhu?
My pronounced Prabhuji, so nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Dineshvara Krishna Prabhu. Dineshvara Krishna Prabhu is disappeared. And Bhakta Anir Purano, yeah, that's it. Doji Das, we didn't see.
Actually,
Okay.
Prabhuji, Dineshwar Prabhuji was speaking, but I think his mic is mute. That is why he could not.
Okay. Dineshvara Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Where from?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Nice, welcome.
Thank you.
Sachitanai Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. I am from Bhubaneswar, Odisha.
Can you put your camera for a second? I can.
Yeah, I'm on the way.
Okay, yeah. So this is here you're in the car, eh? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. Nice to have your darshan. So I am. That was the summary of the second canto so far. I hope it makes sense. I just find for myself when I'm studying the Bhagavatam that. Particularly when I'm doing these kind of courses, that it gives you like some kind of structure, some kind of frame. And then the beauty of it is that you can know when there is a conversation taking place, you know what is the context of the conversation. You know, the Bhagavatam is a series of questions and answers. So it's good to know, you know, what is the question that is being answered and what is the context of it. It's very, very well structured, everything is there for a reason and for a purpose. The first canto also, you can go, is a flow of the chapters, you know? Okay, so without further ado, let's move into chapter 6 today. So this is not relevant for us. Okay. So I'm going to share the screen again. 1 second. Basically, we have a few sections in the 6th chapter, but you know, you can divide it differently. I don't know what guides you're following. We have the guide by the Mayapur Institute, this Bhagavat Subodhini, which is very nice. So different divisions for this chapter are there, but basically, this chapter is called Purusa Sukta, confirm. So what is the Purusa Sukta? It's a prayer, and it's a prayer which is found in the Rig Veda. Sukta means well spoken. Okay, it's a very well spoken prayer to the Lord. To which Lord? To Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is pervading, he expands himself as the universal form and is pervading everything. And everything we see, everything we experience is contained within that universal form. So this prayer of the Rig Veda called Purusa Sukta is confirmed by a prayer offered by whom? By whom is offered the prayer? Anyone? You can type, you can chat, you can type.
Demigods.
By Brahma. Brahma, okay? The prayer is offered by Brahma. Brahma is answering Narada Muni's questions. All right, so we're going to be seeing there is a similarity between the verses of both Bhagavatam and the Purusa Sukta. Now, this is also important because, you know, as you probably know, the Vedas are, you know, part of the Shruti, and they're considered like, you know, topmost authority. Of course, for Vaishnavas, our topmost authority is the Srimad Bhagavatam. But for those who are not Vaishnavas, they may claim that, you know, the Vedas are the topmost authority and we should follow the Vedas. But we'll see that actually the conclusion of the Bhagavatam is, sorry, the conclusion of the Vedas is the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is written by the self-same author, which is Srila Vyasadeva. So the same principles established in the Vedas are further explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so we have these 4 sections. We have the super soul expands in the shape of the universal form, which includes everything manifested in different varieties of organic and inorganic materials. Then Lord Brahma explained that the transcendental nature of the Lord and his abode. We're going to hear about Ekapad Vibhuti and Tripad Vibhuti, the material world or the material manifestation and the spiritual manifestation. Then we're going to hear about sacrifice. One of the questions by Narada Muni was about how the Lord is maintained. So we're going to hear about sacrifice and about the dilemma that actually Lord Brahma experienced at the beginning of creation. And then Brahma concludes that everything is depending on the Lord, but no one can know him. Therefore, one must surrender to the Lord and hear his glories. So that ends chapter 6. Which leads into chapter 7, okay? And chapter 7 is entitled The Scheduled Incarnations. So the conclusion being explained here is that, yes, you know, if I want to, the Lord is everything that exists, and if I want to understand the Lord, it's only by revelation. With my limited capacity, with my limited brain, I cannot understand the Lord. And the process by which we can realize the Lord is by hearing about him. The process is to fix the mind on the Lord. And of all the different ways in which we can fix our mind on the Lord, the best process is to hear about his glories. Okay? So that is basically a summary of chapter 6. Now, connection between chapter 5 and chapter 6. We can recite this verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yad Rupam Yad Adishtanam Yatashristam Idam Prabho Yat Samstam Yat Param Yaksha Tat Tatvam Vada Tatvata. My dear Father, please describe factually the symptoms of this manifest world. What is its background? How is it created? How is it conserved? And under whose control is all this being done? So many of these questions were already answered in chapter 5, okay? But these prayers by Brahma are recited to answer these questions by Narada Muni. Clear? So answering Narada's questions about the identity of the Supreme Lord and Creator, Brahma described the process of creation from Mahavishnu and Garbhodakshaya Vishnu with the subsequent manifestation of the universal form. Chapter 5. Okay? Continuing his narration, now Brahma recites his own prayers, which confirm the conclusion of the Purusa sukta prayers found in the Vedas. Okay? So now this first section, how the cosmos manifests from the Lord's limits. So I don't know if you have time, but we have this basically, I send you the Purusa Sukta prayers. I send you a PDF, and I don't know if you got time to do this. Who did get time to do this? 6 similarity between the text from the Bhagavatam and the Purusa Sukta. Anyone? I guess it was a very short notice, so I don't blame you.
Where was it sent?
Yeah, when?
Well, I gave it to Padma Sundari yesterday, and I gave some homework for all of you to do. She didn't send it to you?
I don't think so.
No problem. We didn't get it.
I sent her 2 exercises. This was one of them, and the other one was another one. All right, so shall we listen to the Purusa Sukta prayer? How is that?
Yes, yes.
Yes? Okay, so let's see. And I'm going to, okay, so how are we gonna do this? Because the prayer should have been with you, but you don't have it. Okay, so that's a bit of an interesting adjustment we need to make here. Okay, so I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna show it to you. Okay. Okay, stop sharing that. Sorry about this, I wasn't prepared for this. Okay, so that's the Purusa Sukta. And we're gonna hear the prayer. It takes about 7 minutes. Can you see the screen, the prayers now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, did you get a chance to go through the translations as we were going through the Sanskrit? Get an idea of what the prayer is?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So we get an idea of what the Purusa Sukta is. Now we're gonna read it from the Bhagavatam, and then we can see. You see, because we have limited time, I was expecting. That's why I send the homework in advance so that you will have prepared for this already. But anyway, no problem. Let's see. Let's share again my PowerPoint, and I have a few similarities, and we can just go through those ones now. Obviously, so what is being confirmed? That's the question, right? What is being confirmed? What is the Purusa Sukta? What is the philosophical truth that the Purusa Sukta is giving us, and how is that confirmed in the Bhagavatam? So that's, we want to see that. I will let you come up with the answer to that question, okay? So in terms of the Sanskrit text, you can see, I will give you this. I will give you an outline of my PowerPoint presentation, so you don't need to worry too much about, if you don't have time to copy it all. But anyway, just to give you a little taste, right? Om Sahasra Purusa Sahasrakshap Sahasrapat, and then Bhagavatam, Sahasror Vangri Bahoksha Sahasrana Shabam. Anyway, you can see that there is very similar, very similar. The topic discussed. This is from this Bhagavad Subodhini study guide by this the devotees in the Bhaktivedanta Vidyapith. It's very nice, and then you get here about the verses in the Purusa Sukta and the Bhagavad verse. The meaning is the same. Okay, so for example. The Purusa pierced the universe and went outside. Oops, sorry.
What page in the Bhagavad Subodhini are you on? You know?
I'm not. This is my PowerPoint. This will be in the appendix, I guess, at the end.
It's in page 190, Prabhu. 190.
Okay. So the Purusa pierced the universe and went outside. There he resides with 1,000 legs, feet, arms, eyes, faces, and heads. All these are only the Lord. Whatever existed in the past, whatever exists in the future, is covered by the Lord. He extends beyond the universe by 10 fingers. Okay. O Brahmanas, he is the Lord of spiritual bliss, beyond material existence, because he surpasses material happiness. The power of the Supreme Lord is unlimited. The wise know that the living beings are situated within the portions designated by the Lord, whose feet protect all places. Eternity, absence of sickness, and absence of fear of committing offense are fixed in the spiritual world situated above the three gunas. Beyond the material realm lies the spiritual realm with the abodes of the liberated souls. In the material realm, the three gunas, the materialist devoid of bhakti, to the Lord reside. The jiva, qualified by ignorance and knowledge, wanders on two paths for attaining enjoyment and liberation. The Lord is the shelter of both paths. And it goes on, okay, with more similarity. By these ingredients assembled through the limbs of the Lord, I perform sacrifice to the Lord. We're going to go through the verses now. I just wanted to kind of have like a bird's eye view where we see the whole prayer. We recited the prayer, and now as we go through the verses, we can see that. The thing is that the challenge we have is there's a lot of verses in this unit, and to cover all the verses in this time is going to be difficult. So far, have you been reading all the verses with the units, or have you just been focusing on different sections?
Some facilitators have done all the verses, and I think 3 didn't and 2 did.
What are you more comfortable with?
Do the key verses.
Key verses? Maybe you can all type what you prefer, and I'll try to satisfy your needs. Dineshwara Krishna Prabhu, meanwhile, you can tell us your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I was just thinking, you mentioned that these Purusa Shukta prayers are spoken to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. It was on your slide as well.
Yeah.
I remember reading in the Krishna book, chapter 1, The Advent of Lord Krishna, where Prabhupada mentions that Lord Brahma spoke these prayers to Shirodakshaya Vishnu.
Yeah. Okay. Both are correct. Both are correct. Who is the sort of who sometimes is referred to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, sometimes of Shirodakshaya Vishnu. In one sense, they are one and the same. In the 3rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Krishna is the source of all incarnations, there is one verse where the text, the translation, it says that all the different incarnations come through Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and then the translation, the purport says they come through Shirodakshaya Vishnu. So it's a bit of one, you know, they're one and this, they're one and different in one sense. It's the same personality with different functions. So in some places it may say Garbhodaksha Vishnu or Karanodaksha Vishnu even. Okay, is that clear? Is it clear or not? It's addressed to both. Okay. I don't know if it's clear. Unless you say something, I don't know if it's Dineshwara Prabhu. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Oh, sorry, I lost connection for a few moments.
Okay. Well, I was just saying basically that it's addressed to both Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Karanodaksha Vishnu. The idea is that the Lord, okay, let's go for the principle, because as we are hearing from in the previous chapter, we hear about the process of creation, right? How Karanodaksha Vishnu expands into Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and Garbhodaksha Vishnu, he's the one that enters into every universe, and he expands himself as the universal form. So generally, we understand that it's actually Garbhodaksha Vishnu. But like you well said, Prabhupada refers to, in the Krishna books, what it says, Karanodaksha or Kshirodaksha Vishnu?
Kshirodaksha Vishnu.
Kshirodaksha Vishnu. Yeah, Kshirodaksha Vishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu expands into Kshirodaksha Vishnu also, who is all pervading as a super soul, enters within every atom. Okay, same personality, same God, same Lord, same supreme fountainhead of everything. Same Purusa. The Purusa, the idea with this Purusa sukta is that the Lord, he expands himself and enters into the universe, and everything that is manifested in the universe is an expansion of himself. There is nothing else in the creation apart from the Lord. Okay? Nothing. And whatever we are basically immersed in the Lord. Everything that is Krishna and his energies. Okay? Hare Krishna. Krishna is the Lord. Hare his energies. That's the absolute truth. There is nothing else outside of him. Okay?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you please explain once again this one? It is very important. I missed because of signal problem your last two statements.
That all there is, the totality of existence. You see, when we're talking about, Prabhupada explains in Bhagavatam that there is the concept of God and the absolute truth are different. The absolute truth is the summum bonum of everything. So we're talking about Krishna, the absolute truth. It means everything there is. There is nothing outside of him. Okay? So there is only Krishna and his energies. I wonder what he said. All there is Hare and Krishna. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, and his energies.
Krishna and his energies.
Yeah. Okay. That's all there is. So from that perspective, when we understand that, then this knowledge is supposed to act as a catalyst for our surrender. And for us to understand our full dependence on the Lord, because there's nothing outside of the Lord. Even if I want to be independent from the Lord, I can't be. Okay? Okay, so many people wrote key verses and sections of key verses, so that's a bit of a relief. I generally read all the verses myself. So this is going to be the first time I'm going to do it like this, but I think it's fine, because we can just focus on the philosophical principles being established, and in that way we don't have to kind of rush through it. So see how it goes. Okay, so let's get the Bhagavatam. 1 second.
So Prabhuji, we will have 4 classes, including today's 4 classes we will have for this unit.
8.
8 classes. Okay, thank you.
This unit is, I just warn you, fasten your belts, because this unit is one of the most dense of the whole course.
Well, dense.
Dense means dense. Like it's really philosophical.
Okay.
It's very, very philosophical. It's loaded. It's like the first unit is also very, very, very is a lot of philosophy in those, prelude of the Bhagavatam. So generally we have for this unit an extra lesson. In the course that we have in the winter here, we have 5 lessons for each unit, and for this one we have 6. And even with that, it's difficult to cover all. Okay, so, but anyway, let's see. I'm gonna just read a few verses now, and then I have the thing that we can just focus on.
You said that we're going to have 8 lessons? I didn't quite get that.
8 days.
8 days. So
Yeah.
that's 6, not 1 extra lesson. It's 3 extra lessons, right?
I don't know how you're doing this course.
We're doing 5. We do 5 lessons a unit. That's what we've been doing.
I don't know. Padmasuna told me that that wasn't the case. She told me that most of the teachers took 8 lessons, so I don't really know.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I don't know, but that's to do justice, we need that much time. Okay. I'll try to do it faster if I'll try to do as fast as we can, but generally I taught this unit many times, and always it takes at least that much time, if not more, usually more. Okay. I sense some disappointment there or something. So if there is, I'm sorry. I don't know how the units were arranged with others. Okay, so let's go back to the verses. Lord Brahma said, the mouth of the Virat Purusha, the universal form of the Lord, is the generating center of the voice, and the controlling deity of fire is fire. His king and 6 other layers are the generating centers of the Vedic hymns.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you are not sharing screen.
Okay. Do you have the Bhagavatam there?
Yes, I have the Bhagavatam.
So I'm just reading from the Bhagavatam. I think because I'm going to be changing from the book.
Okay. So which verse are you reading, Prabhuji?
Text one.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, his king and 6 other layers are generating centers of the Vedic hymns, and his tongue is the productive center of different foodstuffs and delicacies for offering to the demigods, the forefathers, and the general mass of people. Text 2. His 2 nostrils are the generating centers of our breathing and of all other airs. His smelling powers generate the Ashwini Kumara demigods and all kinds of medicinal herbs, and his breathing energies produce different kinds of fragrance. Okay, so his eyes are the generating centers of all kinds of forms, and they glitter and illuminate. His eyeballs are like the sun and the heavenly planets. His ears hear from all sides and are receptacles for all the Vedas. And his sense of hearing is the generating center of the sky and of all kinds of sound. His bodily surface is the breeding ground for the active principles of everything and for all kinds of auspicious opportunities. His skin, like the moving air, is the generating center for all kinds of sense of touch, and is the place for performance of kinds of sacrifice. The hairs on his body are the cause of all vegetation, particularly of those trees which are required as ingredients for sacrifice. The hairs on his head are face are reservoirs for the clouds, and his nails are the breeding ground of electricity, stones, and iron ores. The Lord's arms are the productive fields for the great demigods and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass. Okay, so here I'm just going to focus a little bit on this purport. It's very, very beautiful what Prabhupada is writing here. Okay, maybe I should share actually. Share. Here it is. A sane person must know for certain that a living being, however, it's in the screen, however powerful he may be, is neither absolute nor independent. All living beings must accept the origin of their specific power as mentioned in this verse. And if they act accordingly, then simply by discharging their respective occupational duties, they can achieve the highest perfection of life namely eternal life, complete knowledge, and inexhaustible blessings. As long as the powerful men of the world do not accept the origin of their respective powers, namely the personality of Godhead, the actions of Maya will continue to act. The actions of Maya are such that a powerful person, misled by the illusory material energy, wrongly accepts himself as all in all and does not develop God consciousness. As such, the false sense of egoism, namely myself and mine, has become overly prominent in the world, and there is a hard struggle for existence in human society. The intelligent class of men therefore must admit that the Lord as the ultimate source of all energies, and thus pay tribute to the Lord for his good blessings. Okay, so this is what is being explained, that the Supreme Lord is the ultimate source of all energies. Simply by accepting the Lord as the supreme proprietor of everything, since he is actually so, one can achieve the highest perfection of life. So he's the source. Being the source, he's also the proprietor. Bhagavatam establishes what is the absolute truth, what is our identity, and what is my duty in relationship to the absolute truth. And that topic is being explained and again and again and again. We are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. We are made of his energy, and as such, our duty is to serve him. When we try to act independently from him, then we fall into Maya and we have to suffer. We have to be put into illusion, basically. Now, I'll continue. Whatever a person may be in the estimation of the social order of things, if a person tries to reciprocate a feeling of love towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is satisfied with the blessings of the Lord, he will at once feel the highest peace of mind for which he is hankering life after life. Peace of mind, or in other words, the healthy state of mind, can be achieved only when the mind is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Do you accept this?
Yes.
Anyone experiencing any internal resistance to accept these principles? Prabhupada is giving it so crystal clear. Anyone from any state, no matter what your material situation, no matter what your material qualification, the Lord is not interested in anything like that. He's only interested in your love, your attention. And when we try to give that feeling of love to the Lord, he reciprocates. And when he reciprocates, we can experience that peace of mind that we're hankering for, which is not attainable anywhere else. Someone told me the other day something I liked it very much. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's a good statement. He says that, we have a God-sized hole in the heart, and we have a God-sized hole in the heart, and we're trying to fill it up with, sex, drugs, exercise, wealth. Nothing is going to satisfy the Lord, that feeling of emptiness in the heart, as when we invite the Lord to come into our hearts. Okay,
Krishna Prabhuji, sorry to interrupt. You mentioned God size hole in the heart. God size.
Yeah.
What is the God size?
The hole that we have, the emptiness we have in our heart, is the size of God. Only God can fill it up.
Okay.
Okay, only God
Okay.
can fill it up. You know,
Thank you,
someone
Prabhu.
said that. I thought it was very, very, accurate description, because this is the nature of every living entity in the material world. We have a sense, a feeling of emptiness. We feel alienated in this world. Anyone, do you feel alienated? Do you feel like, it's never quite right? It's always something which is not quite as it should be. And we feel in some disconnection. That's the problem. That feeling of alienation is that we feel disconnected. And we're trying to feel, to get that, to connect in order to actually become satisfied and feel that vacancy, that emptiness in the heart. The only way we can do it is with devotional service to the Lord. Anything else will not work. And this is what Sukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit. You may try sacrifices, you may try karma kanda, you may advance on, on the Varnashram system, you may go to Swarga, you may attain liberation. That feeling of completeness will never be achieved. Clear? I continue. Similarly, the Lord being the Father, all living beings should fully and satisfactorily discharge the duty and will of the Father as faithful sons. This very mentality will at once bring peace and prosperity to human society. Okay? Text 7. Thus the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter for the upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serve as protection for all kinds of fear. Purport. For absolute protection for all sorts of fear, as well as for all our needs of life, we must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Not only in this planet, but also in all the upper, lower, and heavenly planets. This absolute dependence on the lotus feet of the Lord is called pure devotional service. And it is directly hinted at within this passage. So what is the supreme shelter? What is the ultimate shelter? Because ultimately here, the point being made as well is that it's basically that. What is the ultimate shelter? So any other shelter apart from the Supreme Lord is gonna be incomplete. But when we hear about the glories of the Lord and understand who He really is, and this is this is Sambandha Jnana, okay? Sambandha Jnana means to understand Ishvara, okay? To understand Ishvara, to understand Prakriti, to understand his energy, and to understand the Jiva, and what is the interaction of the three. So when we actually understand who is the Ishvara, who am I, and how the material energy is working, then I will blissfully surrender to the Supreme Lord. It won't be like forceful. I will be wanting to surrender to the Supreme Lord because this person is worthy of my worship. He's such a wonderful person. Without him, I have no hope. I'm lost. I'm being carried away by tossed by the laws of material nature, suffering birth after birth after birth. But he is so wonderful that he allows me to approach him through the simple process of devotional service. And then when I do that, then I can become, when I do give myself to him, I become free from all sorts of fear. this is what is being explained. Okay, we have a couple of hands there, but I'm gonna put you in hold because I want to. So I acknowledge that there is a couple of hands there, but I want to move ahead, and then we'll continue. We'll attend to you later. Okay, just to make sure that I cover section because time is flying. Text 8. From the Lord's genitals originate water, semen, generatives, rains, and the procreators. His genitals are the cause of a pleasure that counteracts the distress of begetting. Now, this topic is going to be a topic. This topic which is not being explained yet, but the topic of celibacy is a topic that is going to be described in this chapter. The importance of it, okay? And in this verse, already there is a reference to this, and explains how the genitals and the pleasure of begetting counteract the distresses of family encumbrances, and will cease to generate altogether if they were not, by the grace of the Lord, a coating, a pleasure-giving substance on the surface of the generative organs. This substance gives a pleasure so intense that it counteracts fully the distress of family encumbrances. So, okay, move on. So now I'm gonna just shift to text 13. Well, okay, this is a nice point. Text number 10. The back of the Lord is the place for all kinds of frustration and ignorance, as well as for immortality. From his veins flow the great rivers and rivulets, and on his bones are stacked the great mountains. Now, at the end of the purport, Prabhupada makes a very, very nice point. He says that, you know, you have the front of the Lord and you have his back, okay? So sometimes, like, one time I remember I heard His Holiness Sachinandan Swami, he had not met Prabhupada yet. He was in touch with the devotees, but he had a question. He wanted to catch Prabhupada, basically, you know. His question was, why did Krishna create Maya? So he somehow felt that whatever Prabhupada will answer, he will kind of, have something to, reply to him. So he asked Prabhupada, so why Krishna created Maya? And you know what Prabhupada's answer was? You can unmute yourself if you know the answer and tell us.
Did he say that you created Maya?
You created Maya. You created,
right?
No Krishna. You created. So how do we create Maya? When we turn our backs to Krishna, we take our backs to Krishna. It's like the sun. I turn my back to the sun, and then there is a shadow. Okay? So that shadow is Maya. Is the ignorance of the Lord. So I'll read at the end of this purport. It says that those who are fortunate enough to have a view of the Lord from the front can realize his personal feature, whereas those who are frustrated and are thus kept on the ignorant sides of the Lord, or in other words, those who have the view of the Lord from the back, realize him in his impersonal feature. So ignorance is the back of the Lord. But even ignorance is contained within the Lord. There is nothing outside of the Lord, if that makes sense. Okay. So basically from verses 1 to 17, this, how the Lord expands himself through the universe is explained. And I'm just going to go back to these slides. So text 13, how the Purusa sukta is confirmed. This is the point. Everything rests on the potency of Lord Shri Krishna, and still the Lord is different from and transcendental to all such identities. In the Vedic Purusa Sukta of the Rig Veda, this is also confirmed. So the Lord expands as everything that exists in the universe In fact, everything that exists is him. At the same time, he remains aloof. You could say that everything that there is the Lord. Prabhupada, this is also going to be confirmed in the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. And the point is that Prabhupada explains in a purport to Chaitanya Charitamrita to this Chatushloki, where he says that everything in the law, everything that we see, everything that exists is the Lord. At the same time, nothing is the Lord except his own primeval personality. Achintya Veda Aveda Tattva, the inconceivable oneness and difference between the Lord and his creation. Okay, so everything is the Lord. At the same time, he remains aloof. He remains separate. And this is inconceivable. How can you be a person and be all-pervading? That's why it's achintya. Only the Lord can do this. Okay? So, text 13 to 18 are Brahma's answer to Narada's question about the identity of the universe ultimate creator. For in response, he glorifies the source of the vastly powerful Virat Purusha, the super soul who resides in everyone's heart. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the controller of immortality and fearlessness, and he is transcendental to death and the fruitive actions of the material world. Is it making sense so far? Okay, we can attend to your questions. Jamastami Prabhu?
Kind of a simple question, maybe it's a no-brainer, but in text 7, I couldn't really understand. Thus, the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter for the upper, lower, and heavenly planets. This expression, the forward steps of the Lord, a little hard for me to understand.
Text number 7. Eh?
Yeah, it's a translation.
Thus, the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter for the upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serve as protection for all kinds of fear.
That part's clear, the last sentence. But just that expression, the forward steps of the Lord, just hard to understand.
I'm somehow, I believe this was explained in the 5th chapter, no? About the universal form and how the different planetary systems are situated within the body of the Lord, right? And if you remember, you have the picture of the universal form is in the Bhagavatam, and you have, basically how the lower planets are situated within his legs, the middle planets within his waist, and the upper planets, above. So I think the point being made here is that the lotus feet of the Lord are supporting, or the legs of the Lord are supporting the entire manifestation, material manifestation. I think that's the point.
Say it one more time, that sentence.
That the legs of the Lord, of this universal form of the Lord, they are supporting the entire universe with the lower, middle, and upper planetary systems. I personally find that it's not, at least my limited brain cannot get a picture of most of these verses, precise, but you get an idea of what is being presented with the universal form.
In the 5th chapter of the 3rd canto, there is a description that compares the universal form to the Archavigraha, in that it's there for those in material consciousness so they can grasp it. But for us, it's a little hard because we've never really been trained in how to worship the universal form.
Well, but you see, I mean, but it makes sense because even us, you know, when we see something very, very like a huge, for example, when you see the ocean, you know, I remember the first time I crossed the ocean, it gives you a sense of greatness, and it gives you a sense of your own insignificance, right? Seeing like a great mountain. I was in Austria a few years back, and we went to these mountains in the Alps, and it was so huge, so beautiful. You get a sense of divinity there. That wow, the creator, if this is so huge and so powerful, what about the creator of all this? So we see in different cultures that they worship the sun, they worship the rivers, you know, that concept is there. So when we don't have access to something which is spiritual, and we are only fixed on something, and that's what that verse that you're explaining is describing, that when we only have access to matter, then naturally we're going to worship the great things in the universe, because we don't see anything beyond that. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And that's why in many religious, you know, in many religions, the concept of God is as what? Is as the creator, right? Because the most amazing and wonderful thing that we see is the creation. But for us Vaishnavas, that's not the highest conception of God, the creator, right? First of all, because even this material manifestation is not the highest expression of the creation of God. It's the prison house. So it's not so wonderful in one sense. You know, the material world is not so wonderful, but the feature of the Lord, as the creator, which, you know, is executed by Lord Brahma, even not by the secondary creation by Lord Brahma, and the primary creation is executed by the Lord. But that's not the highest feature of the Lord. What is the highest feature of the Lord?
The beauty and his ability to interact with his loving devotees.
Yeah, it's Krishna. He's, you know, executing loving pastimes. But because we're in material consciousness, we cannot, you know, like properly understand that. And that's why the Bhagavatam is taking us step by step, gradually, so that we understand who Krishna is, who the absolute truth is. And then we can surrender to him. We can understand, you know, when he is playing with the gopis. Who is playing with the gopis? It's not just a village cowherd boy. It's the absolute truth. Make sense?
I had one other question, but I was listening to a class by Banuswami on the first verse of the Bhagavatam, and he was describing how Vyasadeva didn't actually write the Vedas because they're eternal. They're already there, but he organized them.
Yeah, of course. The Vedas are eternal. He edited them. The Vedas are eternally existing. They are an emanation from the Lord. Right. And that's the difference between Shruti and Smriti. So this Rig Veda prayer is, you know, is eternally existent. Okay, but I don't want to go into another topic. That's something else, okay? Let's see if we can stick to just stop discussion on what we're discussing. Asaf, Prabhu, you had your hand up as well? Or is it going down?
Yeah, I brought it down because it was the same question as
Janmashtami.
I want to know whether the Lord walks, that his forward steps mean that he's walking.
You see, this thing about the universal form is presented in the Bhagavad Gita also, is presented in the Bhagavatam in various places. It's kind of hard to grasp in one sense, right?
Yeah, we don't have to waste time on it. It's okay. It's not such.
Anyway, I just wanted to say, you know, that in one sense it's like it's an imaginary form of the Lord, because we imagine that the trees are his hairs, that the rivers are his veins. Okay, At the same time, there is a revelation that Krishna gave to Arjuna when Arjuna saw the universal form. That was a revelation, you know, with thousands of helmets, brilliant like 1,000 suns or millions of suns, you know, that universal form even spoke to Arjuna. So that universal, because Arjuna wanted to see how the Lord pervades the entire universe. So how the Lord, who is the one that pervades the entire universe? It's Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who expands himself. And this is what is being described here. I don't know if that's making it more confused even.
No, it's clear.
Yeah.
It's clear.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the, I am on the slides. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I was talking to you about celibacy, which is discussing text, verse 8, we just discussed, and verse 20. Now, again, I'm emphasizing this point because we need to get this clear about what is being confirmed. Okay, so this is from the purport 2:6:13 to 16. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his partial representation, measuring no more than 9 inches as super soul, expands by his potential energy in the shape of the universal form, which includes everything manifested in different varieties of organic and inorganic materials. The manifested varieties of the universe are therefore not different from the Lord. Just as golden ornaments of different shapes and forms are not different from the original stock reserve of gold. In other words, the Lord is the supreme person who controls everything within the creation, and still he remains a supreme separate identity, distinct from all manifested material creation. I believe I just explained that. This is directly from Prabhupada. In the Vedic Purusa Sukta of the Rig Mantra, this is also confirmed. The philosophical truth of simultaneous oneness and difference was propounded by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and is known as Achintya Veda Aveda Tattva. Okay, now text 18 to 22, we enter into a new section of this prayer where the material universe or the material manifestation and the spiritual manifestation are compared. Okay, so what I want to do, because I've been talking for a long time, I'm going to, and I gave this to Padma Sundari as well. Unfortunately, you didn't get it, but so I want you to read text 18 to 22. I'm going to divide you into groups, and you can note down a few aspects that you find particularly attractive, okay? About the, Tripad Vibhuti, what general principles are being explained, and how can we apply these concepts in our spiritual daily lives. Clear? Okay, breakout rooms. How many people are here? 21. We lost at least one person. I think it was more at the beginning. Create 5 breakout rooms. That's 4 people in each room. Okay, assign automatically. So I'm gonna give you like 10 minutes. Is that okay? So is it clear the exercise that you need to do? Any doubts? I'll keep the slide on the screen, but I don't know if you will see it. When you break into rooms, you may not be able to see it. Okay, so you read text 18 to 22. Okay, and then note down a few aspects that you find particularly attractive. What general principles are being explained, and how can we apply these concepts in our daily spiritual lives? Clear? Can I put you into the breakout rooms?
Yes, Prabhuji.
How much time do you have?
I'm gonna give you like 10 minutes. Okay?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Could you possibly put those
I'll put it on the chat box. I'll try to see if I can do it. I'm not sure. Okay. I'll open all the rooms. Okay.
Shall we join the rooms?
Yeah, join. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, pranams, Prabhuji.
Dandava pranams. So please, some volunteers to share some of your answers. Anyone? You can raise your hands. Since no one is there now, you can just go ahead, whoever wants to. Okay, Veera Gopal Prabhu.
Pranams, Prabhuji. My verse was 619. We divided it into with 4 people, and I got verse 619. And in this verse, it is being explained. And what I found most fascinating was that the material creation is only 1/4 of the Lord's creation, and 3/4 is the spiritual world. And what attracted me, or fascinates me, I should say, about this verse is that if a person like me ever makes it to the spiritual world, that the Lord enables one to experience and relish this experience. It's, for me, it's like a little adventure, shall we say. So I find this quite amazing that he not only lets you be in that 3/4 material, spiritual creation, but enables you to experience it fully, and there is no suffering there, unlike the material world. So that was my take from this, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Veera Gopal Prabhu. Okay, Raj Shekhar. Maybe when you are contributing, it's good to have your cameras on, if your internet allows it, of course.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Go ahead.
My verse was verse number 18.
Okay to put your camera on, or?
Verse number 18, and it has been said that it's very difficult to measure the glories of Lord. And in Pant Puran, it has been said that 75% of Lord internal potentiality is there. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it has been said that total universe is bucket full of the mustard seed. And my intake is that in Brahma Samhita, it has been said that Vedeshu Durlabham Atma Bhakto. One can realize the Lord by the bhakti, not by the studying the Vedas. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. I mean, this is amazing, and like this universe, we is so vast. We don't know anything about this universe, and this universe is just like one universe among millions of universes, and this is only a quarter of the whole material, the whole manifestation of the Lord. But even that is relative. Why? Because the spiritual manifestation is unlimited, is ever expanding, is unlimited, basically. So therefore, can you have a quarter of something which is unlimited? You can. So just to give us an idea. Karuna Tara Mataji. Please unmute yourself.
Prabhuji, what I learned, my verse was 2.6.18, and from this I learned that God is beyond the material and spiritual world. So, and it is very fast, but the spiritual happiness is in the internal kingdom of the Lord. It cannot be imagined by the great brahmachari and sannyasis. But such happiness is factually attained by the unalloyed devotees of the Lord. And that is only by his divine grace. So if we have mercy of the Lord, then only we'll be able to attain that bliss, that happens. That is my takeaway. Hare Krishna.
Nice. Murari Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. We also divided these verses, and I had 21 and 22. And in this 21 verse, Srila Prabhupada nicely explained how the Lord is the only controller, and that we as living entities, we are just trying to play in this material world in this sense, and we can never be in this situation like the Lord, and that the real happiness is actually for us in the spiritual world. And Srila Prabhupada makes the nice point that he described that there are different stages of avidya, and they are called dharma, artha, and moksha. So, so even in material world, or even these things are avidya, and in the spiritual world there is like full knowledge of everything.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So this was for myself.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Gopala Ganashraya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So I was taking the verse 18. So the description of it says the spiritual world, each of them is eternal, indestructible, and free from all kinds of limitations experienced in the material world. Each of them is self-illuminating and more powerful, dazzling than the total sunshine of millions of mundane suns. Yeah. Also, is described in the material world, there is always anxiety or fearfulness in the hearts of all living entities. But the Lord, being himself the supreme fearless, also awards the same quality of fearlessness to his pure devotee.
Good. Thank you. Vinay Damodar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, I have taken 21 and 22, but I can just consider on 21. So in 21, the main point I got here is that the whole atmosphere of the spiritual world is Vidya. And then Prabhupada say, in the field of Vidya, there is devotional service to our Lord. And there is no chance of being contaminated by influence of forgetfulness in the liberated stage of devotional service. So if Vidya is there, then there will be devotional service, and there cannot be a Vidya at all. So that point very much attracted me, and this general principle is that, as we say, that where Krishna is sun, Maya andhakar, wherever Krishna, there is no chance of Maya at all. So we should just try to just concentrate on chanting Hare Krishna and discussing Bhagavatam and all those things. So we will be in spiritual world.
Thank you.
Prabhu.
Okay, there is one point which is kind of referred to as here as what is the qualification to go into the spiritual world, which is discussed in these verses. Anyone got that?
Is it humility, Prabhu?
Well, definitely humility is there, but is it described there in the verses? It's many hands up there, so you can raise your hand because you had a hand up before. It's just because there's only a few minutes left. What is that point? It's an emphasis being made there in regards to something.
Celibacy.
Celibacy. Yamastami Prabhu. Very good. So tell us.
Well, in verse 20, the material world is a place for the Griyamadis or the Aprihad Vratas. They don't strictly follow celibacy. There's the enjoying mood, and it prevents them from accessing higher consciousness. They're blocked and have to stay in the material world till they become free from it. Of course, Prabhupada gets into the point where if someone has brahmachari training, even though he's a grahasta, it's easy for him to move into vanaprastha and sannyas. So that's the key. You know, I know as a young devotee, I heard a lot of Prahladananda Swami's class, who's now the minister of sannyas. And he always used to quote this verse, Pumsa striya mituni bhavamitam tayor mito hridaya grantemahu. Ato griha shetra sutapta vitar janashamoho yamahamameti. That the attraction between male and female is a basic principle of material existence. And the basis of this misconception, when we becomes attracted to his home, his property, his children, his body, his relatives, his wealth. This way he increases life's illusion and thinks in terms of I and mine. So this is what takes place. We get blocked, so we have to become free from sex desire. And the whole process of an ashram brings us to that point. But it also is a big factor for us to take our sadhana practices very seriously, and the process of anartanavritti, which is very quickly achieved by the proper mood in chanting our japa. Those are points that I found particularly relevant, and added a few of my own, but
Thank you very much, appreciate it. In regards to this point, will someone like to add something to this specific point? This is important. Anyone from you raise your hands, just unmute yourself if someone would like to add. The point here, okay, the whole material civilization is moving on the principle of sex life. And now Prabhupada is saying here, well, you gotta give it up. If you want to attain perfection, if you want to go back home, back to Godhead, you gotta give it up. Okay? So why sex life is detrimental to spiritual realization? Comments. And we'll finish in 2-3 minutes. Just say today, because it's the first class, it's now coming to just give me 2-3 more minutes. Karuna Tara Mataji, you just raise your hand there?
Yeah. Because sex life is a major source of distraction. So if we remove distraction from our life, we'll be able to concentrate. Like suppose in a mind, if a glass is full of water, so we have to first empty it. Otherwise, we will not be able to fill in. That's what I think.
Well, the analogy of the glass, I will say that the way our process is not to empty the glass, our process is to fill it up with Krishna Katha.
Yeah.
Then all the dirty stuff will come out. If you just focus on emptying the glass from those desires, then it won't work. Automatically by adding Krishna, it gets empty. That's the principle Yamasthana Prabhu was making. Okay, Mahavira Rupa Prabhu, is this in regards to this point or because you had a hand up from before?
Yeah, I had my hand before.
In regards to this topic, because we're coming to the end of the class. No.
Actually, regarding this point, I would like to add here is that the principle is that we have been put in this material life to basically return back home, back to Godhead. And our life, we have to understand that we are a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and our job is to serve the Lord, to give him pleasure. And by getting involved in the sense gratification, or by not following the principles of celibacy, we are not doing our duty of a human being. That is what is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, that we have to follow the principle to please and satisfy the Lord. Then only we can be successful and get the highest perfection.
Okay. Murari Prabhu?
Yes, I was thinking about that our attraction is going from Krishna because of this sexual desire. And so therefore it is like you said about that we turn the back to the Lord. So, and therefore we are stuck here in this Maya.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for that. So basically, sex life, it fixes us on the consciousness. Nothing fixes us on the consciousness of being the body as the pleasure of sex life. That we read at the beginning, that pleasure-causing substance that is with the genitals, and it fixes us on the consciousness of being the body and on being the controllers and the enjoyers of the material of the material world. Nothing, this is the glue that keeps us bound to the material world. Like Prabhupada explains in the Upanishad, it's like a material fever. What is the fever? The fever is high the more we think ourselves to be the controllers, to be the enjoyers. And of all the enjoyments in the material world, the topmost enjoyment is sex life. So one becomes intoxicated to think that I'm actually the enjoyer. So therefore, we have to bring down the fever. We have to bring down the fever of bodily identification, of thinking myself to be anything else but the humble servant of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, this becomes a qualification for us to go back home, back to Godhead. And that can be achieved, like, you know, through regulation, through the Grihastha ashram. It's a spiritual program. We should not expect also that this is going to be given up like overnight. It will take time. It will take time. We should not be also like become morose or overly depressed because the desire is still lingering there. But the point is that we are aspiring to give it up, and we understand that as far as we hold on to this desire to enjoy separate from the Lord, then we will not be able to give, we will not have access to the sweetness of pure devotional service. Material sex life is Shapala Sukha, is flickering. The happiness of material life is flickering. Bhoga Tyaga, you cannot enjoy permanently. But what is being described in those verses, no one mentioned, but it's described how the happiness in the spiritual world is Anandam Buddhivardhanam, is ever expanding. Meaning, like, you know, any experience of reciprocation with the Lord, like the example Prabhupada gives is like the gopis see Krishna or Radharani sees Krishna, and she's so happy to see him. And then when Krishna sees Radharani, he becomes even more beautiful. And when Radharani sees Krishna becoming more beautiful, she becomes happier. And when Krishna sees Radharani becoming happier and more beautiful, he becomes happier. And this just goes on, you know, unlimitedly. So that's the experience in the material world. In the material world, is actually temporary, and it doesn't bring real happiness, real satisfaction. There is always a misery that comes along with the so-called enjoyment of the material world. While spiritual happiness is unlimited. So therefore, and therefore, we find that in the Vedic system, in the Vedic system, the topmost people are in the rank in the society are those who are renounced, the sannyas. And what are they showing us? They're showing us that you can actually be happier without sex life. But material mind, the material energy, the environment that we're living on today, it promises, it gives you a false promise that unless you have good sex life, you're not gonna be happy. And therefore, people try to find different means to enjoy sex life right until the end of their lives. Well, actually, the real happiness comes from the process of devotional service. And like one matter you mentioned there, sex life becomes a distraction. So we should give it up. Give it up. Take the path that is convenient for us to give it up, but, you know, give it up eventually. Okay, so I'm going to finish here. Thank you very much for your attention. Tomorrow we will finish chapter 6, and we will finish. We'll aim to finish chapter 7. Chapter 7 is a little lighter. It's about the scheduled incarnations. So you may go through those incarnations yourselves, find out some points that you like, something that you particularly find inspiring from any of those incarnations, and we can do a little bit of sharing tomorrow on that chapter. It's a little bit left off on chapter 6, but the main philosophical points have been covered today, so we should be able to move faster tomorrow. Thank you so much. A pleasure to be with all of you. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
1 o'clock.
Thank you so much.
1 o'clock. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granta Rashi Mad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Just one more thing I would like to mention. Today, a very wonderful Vaishnava in Spain, who is a legend. He was distributing books for 43 years, a brahmachari. He gave up sex life, and he dedicated his life to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, universities, school, for 43 years. A person who very much remained in the background. He didn't, wanted to put himself, to become prominent or anything, but he inspired many souls in the Spanish Yatra. So he left this world this morning. He actually had gone to the Spanish farm to to leave his body. He had been given, he had cancer and was told that could not be cured. So he went to leave his wall, leave this wall at the lotus feet of the deities in New Brajamandala. So anyway, they are,
What is his name?
His name is Abesha Rupa Prabhu. So I would like just to, offer whatever yagya we did today to his lotus feet and pray for his mercy and his blessings. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Dandava pranams.
Thank you,
Very well.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
No problem. Hare Krishna.